Hello, my name is Barbara Oman and I'm with the Roosevelt Foundation. But I'm also here in the outdoor classroom of University College Roosevelt. And at just a few hundred meters from the Roosevelt Institute for American Studies here in Middelburg, Zeeland. And close by this Roosevelt Hotel and a bar named after Eleanor Roosevelt. And I can well imagine that by now you start wondering, what is it between Zeeland and the Roosevelts? Well, there's an easy answer, which is that the Roosevelt family probably originated from Zeeland, from Oud-Vossemeer in Tolen in the 17th century. But the longer answer is, of course, the importance of the Roosevelt family, that not only generated 2 American presidents, but also someone named First Lady of the World. There was Teddy Roosevelt, after which we have the teddy bear named, but also Franklin Roosevelt, who was the longest sitting American president ever, from 1932 to 1945. Franklin Roosevelt was known for many things, for the New Deal and for the fact, for instance, that he had polio but never showed it. But one of the most important things that he left behind was actually an idea. And for this idea, you must imagine that a place like this, Middelburg, in 1940, 1941, was completely in shambles. This beautiful town hall was in rubble, broken down, as was a lot of the rest of Europe. And on the other side of the world, Franklin Roosevelt was president at the time. And he held a speech to Congress in which he formulated why the US should get involved in this war. What he said in that speech was that what was at stake were actually 4 fundamental freedoms.
The first is freedom of speech and expression everywhere in the world.
The freedom of speech and expression, the freedom of worship, the freedom from want, and the freedom from fear. And this whole speech and this whole thinking has become so famous that these days you even have ties with the 4 freedoms on it, and fridge magnets, etc. Anyway, Franklin Roosevelt very sadly died in 1945, just at the end of the war and before the realization of the United Nations, his big dream. And it was his wife, Eleanor Roosevelt, who would carry his thinking forward. Eleanor Roosevelt became chair of the commission that has it as its task to draw up a universal declaration of human rights, which they presented to the United Nations in 1948. And this declaration really forms the basis for international protection of virtually all the rights that we have today. And to me, put together, Franklin and Eleanor really show the difference that one person can make. And it's this difference that we celebrate once every 2 years in Middelburg. Because once every 2 years in the Abbey, the 4 Freedoms Awards are handed out. There's always an international award, and that over the years has gone to people such as Nelson Mandela or Angela Merkel or the Dalai Lama. And at times the award goes to institutions such as the European Court of Human Rights or the Paris Climate Agreement. And also there's an award for each and every freedom. And I personally remember very well Malala receiving one of the awards and a fantastic speech that she did at the time.
I realized that I had 2 options, only 2 options. Either to remain silent and wait to be killed, or to speak out and then be killed.
So now you know where the fascination in Zeeland for the Roosevelts comes from. It's partially because they originated from Zeeland, but has much more to do with the ideas that they left us with. The idea of four freedoms and the idea of human rights. That's really what we celebrate in all these institutions and also with the Four Freedoms Awards. And I'm sure that Franklin would approve, although I'm not so sure what he would think of this tie. Maybe we should ask him. Franklin, what do you think?